Hey there, Ken Wilkins, standaloneharness.com. So if you've made it this far in the video series, you've seen the previous videos on what to send and what not to send, and now I'm going to talk about how to send it. And so what you want to do is you want to avoid excessive shipping costs by shipping a box that's too large for the harness that you have. You want to obviously avoid over shipping, because if you're sending too much crap, we're just going to dispose of it. And then you want to avoid tariffs and excessive insurance costs. So the first thing you want to do is get a good, it could be a single wall box, it doesn't need to be a double wall. And when you tape it shut, you're going to want to run 3 strips of tape across it. That way this thing doesn't stand a chance of blowing open. Some guys, if their harness is really filthy, they'll actually put it in a small trash bag and then put it inside the box. That way the dirt isn't leaking out through the bottom of the box. And then your name and telephone number and your email address on a piece of paper inside the box, so that we can call you when the harness arrives. If we don't have that, the harness ends up in the quarantine area, and we call them mystery harnesses, and then somebody ends up calling us wondering why in the hell we haven't called them, and there's the answer. So you also want to make sure that when you're shipping it to us that you're not over insuring. So any of these core harnesses are worth about $450 on the retail market, and that's on the high end. And so we had one come in recently that came out of Canada. It was insured for $1,000. There was a $400 harness in it. And so not only are they overpaying for insurance, but they're also getting whacked for $1,000 worth of tariffs and duty fees. So you want to make sure that you're not over insuring. So we do use a third-party shipping service for both inbound and outbound packages. So if you're shipping it insured for over $500, I believe it's going to come to a signature required, and that's why I use the third-party service, is so that packages can come in whenever, and there's always somebody there to sign for them. We've been shipping, for instance, with FedEx since 1994. We've never lost a package except one time, and that was back in the mid-2000s. And it got ran over by by one of the pushers at the airport. Somehow or another, it dropped out of the plane, and then they drove over it. But literally one claim in 30 years. So chances are it's going to get here okay. Once the harness gets here, we're going to open the box. We'll pull it out, and it'll head into our PDI, which is peel, degrease, and inspect. Every harness gets peeled completely. We run it through a degreasing process, and then it gets inspected. And what we're looking for is pre-existing damage to the harness, crash damage to the connectors, crash damage to the wires. We're looking for maybe previously repaired crash damage where they use butt connectors, or a lot of times guys are tapping into circuits with Scotch locks. And we're going to make a note of that up front. We'll note any missing connectors. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to call you to go through the details of your work order. And so we'll let you know exactly what we found on the inbound process. And then we need to understand, and this is where we're different, we need to understand what you're building and what you're trying to accomplish. So we'll talk about things like your park neutral switch. For starter lockout, we're going to talk about your air conditioning, whether or not you're going to run AC, whether or not you're going to use the gauges in your recipient vehicle, or if you're going to go with something aftermarket like Autometer or Dakota Digital. And the reason for that is we want to help you avoid the pitfalls. So there are some subtle nuances with using aftermarket gauges, for instance, and we can walk through that. So once we've had the work order call, Then we'll actually email you an invoice for the work that we're going to do. And it's a PayPal invoice. I've used PayPal for well over a decade for all of our invoicing. And you don't have to have PayPal. You can use Visa, Master, Discover, or American Express, and then pay the invoice that way. That guarantees your time slot that we promised on the work order. We're really proud of the fact that when we give a date that your harness is going to ship, it ships on or before that date. So, and the payment of the invoice guarantees timely moving through our system. So, once the harness is processed and completed, we power each harness up. We're powering up the fuse block, and we're testing not only the relays, but we're also testing the ground circuits. So when these things leave, we know that they're able to be up and running. If there's any hidden damage inside of the ECM connector, we can't always see that, of course. And so the chances of that are really slim. Generally, once or twice a year, we'll run into that scenario. But for the most part, we know that when we ship, our harnesses are within 1/2 of 1% of 100% accuracy. So the box is on the way to you. You'll get notified by Federal Express. That's who we use for all of our outbound shipping. They'll notify you that we've generated the label, and they'll notify you approximately of what the delivery date is supposed to be, so that you can plan on your end to have somebody or be there to sign for the package. We do signature required. It's actually not our choice. Each harness is insured for $1,000 at least, going back to you. Again, we've never really lost one, but I don't want to take a chance. I'm that guy that if I don't insure it, it's going to end up being the one that gets lost. So it'll come back to you signature required. FedEx will not only notify you when we generate the label, but when we also when it goes out, and then it'll give you a notification the day before and then the day of delivery at your doorstep or at your place of business or where you work. So yeah, once you got it, open it up, read the directions. Please read the directions, and then get it installed. Generally speaking, you can get your engine running if you've already bled the fuel system. I've done videos where we've had them running in less than 45 seconds right out of the box. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to earning your business.